Hello friends, welcome to Prashant IAS. So friends, in the last class, we have completed our discussion with Precedence Rule and SR Bomai versus Union of India case. So friends, in this class, we will start our discussion with a fresh topic. So as you can see on the screen, the topic of today's class is financial emergency. So friends, let's begin. So friends, the first and the most basic question is that under which article of Indian Constitution financial emergency is given. Okay, so I have told you this many times that whenever we are studying any topic, so first of all we need to know that where this topic is given in the Constitution of India, because basically we are studying here the Constitution of India. So friends, now let us try to understand that under which article of the Indian Constitution the concept of financial emergency is given. So friends, the answer of this question is Article 360. Okay, so financial emergency is given under Article 360 of the Indian Constitution. So now can you tell me under which article financial emergency is given? So now you can say that sir, under Article 360 of Indian Constitution financial emergency is given. So friends, now let's move forward. After this friends, then the next important question is that what are the grounds on which financial emergency can be proclaimed or it can be imposed. Okay, so now we need to know the grounds, that on what grounds, on what basis, okay, or what are the reasons on the basis of which financial emergency can be proclaimed. Okay, and then we will also see that how the financial emergency is actually proclaimed and who proclaims the financial emergency. So now we will try to find out the answer to all these questions. Now friends, for getting the answer to our questions, we need to read that what is written in Article 360 of the Indian Constitution. So now let's try to read that what is written in the Article 360 of the Indian Constitution. So friends, first of all, the title of Article 360 is Provisions as to Financial Emergency. Now this means that the provisions for financial emergency in the Constitution. Okay, so this title means that these are the provisions for the financial emergency in the Constitution of India. Now after this, let's read Article 360 Clause 1. So what is given in Article 360 Clause 1? If the President is satisfied that a situation has arisen whereby financial stability or credit of India or any part of the territory thereof is threatened, he may by a proclamation make a declaration to that effect. Okay, so this is given in Article 360 Clause 1 of the Indian Constitution. Now what is the meaning of this article or what is the meaning of this statement? So now I will explain you the meaning of this statement. So first of all, the title of Article 360 means that these are the provisions for the financial emergency in India. And what is that provision? So this is given under Article 360 Clause 1. So now I will explain you that what is the meaning of the statement which is given in Article 360 Clause 1 of the Indian Constitution. So friends, the meaning of this statement is that first of all the financial, okay, so our second question was that on what grounds financial emergency can be proclaimed. So first of all, this article gives the answer to our question. Okay, so when you will read this article, then you will come to know that financial emergency can be proclaimed on two grounds. Financial emergency can be proclaimed on two bases. So what are the grounds of the proclamation of financial emergency? So here you can see that if the financial stability or the credit of India or any part of territory is under threat. Okay, so what are the grounds of the imposition of financial emergency? So there are two grounds of the imposition of financial emergency. The first ground can be that if financial stability of India is under threat. Okay, so what is the first ground? So the first ground is that if the financial stability of India is under threat. And what is the second ground? So the second ground is that if credit of India, okay, if the credit of India is under threat, then President of India can proclaim financial emergency. Okay, so now can you tell me that what are the grounds of the imposition of financial emergency? So friends, there can be two grounds of the proclamation of financial emergency. The first ground can be that if the financial stability of India is under threat, and the second ground can be if the credit of India is under threat. So on these two bases, on these two grounds, financial emergency can be proclaimed. Okay, so financial emergency can be proclaimed if financial stability of India is threatened or the credit of India is threatened, or we can also say that if financial stability of India is under threat or credit of India is under threat, then on these two conditions financial emergency can be proclaimed. Now friends, after this, the next important question is that who proclaims the financial emergency? Okay, so then the next important question is that who proclaims the financial emergency? So when you will read this article, then it is clearly written that if President of India is satisfied, okay, if the President of India is satisfied that the financial stability or credit of India is under threat, then President of India can declare financial emergency. Okay, so who proclaims the financial emergency? So if you will read article 360 clause 1, then you will conclude the conclusion that President of India, okay, President of India is the officer who has the power to proclaim, who has the power to impose financial emergency. Now friends, after this, the next important question is that what is the process or what is the procedure of the proclamation or imposition of financial emergency in the country? Okay, so then the next important question is that what is the process of the imposition of financial emergency, or we can also say that how the financial emergency is proclaimed. So again you will get the answer of this question in this article only. Okay, so when you will read this article, then you will come to know. So let's suppose that President of India came to know from anywhere or came to know from any source. Okay, so President of India came to know means get the news, came to know from any source that either the financial emergency of India is under threat or the credit of India is under threat. Okay, so what happened that President of India got the news that what happened that let's suppose that the financial stability of India is under threat. Now what happened that President will conduct a little investigation, okay, to check that whether really the financial stability of India is under threat or not. Okay, and after all these things, if President of India is satisfied, okay, if President of India is satisfied means now he is confirmed. Now he clearly knows that this is a true news. Okay, so now President of India is satisfied means now he is confirmed that in reality financial stability of India is under threat, or in reality the credit of India is under threat. Okay, then President of India has the power to proclaim, then President of India has the power to declare that now India is officially under financial emergency. Okay, so what is the procedure? So the procedure is very simple, that if President of India is satisfied that the financial stability or the credit of India is under threat, okay, means he is confirmed, then he has the power to proclaim financial emergency in India. So this is the procedure. Okay, now friends, here you need to remember one more very important thing. So that thing is that, okay, so that thing is that President of India can proclaim financial emergency only on the advice or only on the recommendation of the Council of Ministers. Okay, now what does it mean? So it means that when Council of Ministers, okay, and more particularly speaking, Union Council of Ministers. So when Union Council of Ministers will give advice to the President of India to proclaim financial emergency in the country, then only President of India can proclaim financial emergency in the country. So you can, here also you can say that in reality the satisfaction of the President is the satisfaction of Union Council of Ministers. Okay, so in reality the satisfaction of President is the satisfaction of Union Council of Ministers. So what is the real procedure? Okay, so earlier I told you the theoretical procedure. So now what is the real procedure? So real procedure is that first of all Council of Ministers, okay, Union Council of Ministers came to know from anywhere that the financial stability of India is under threat, or the credit of India is under threat. Okay, so now Council of Ministers will check. Okay, so they will try to check that whether in reality the financial stability of India is under threat or not. Okay, and if the Union Council of Ministers is satisfied, that yes, in reality the credit of India is under threat, or in reality the financial stability of India is under threat, then Union Council of Ministers will give advice to the President of India. Okay, Union Council of Ministers will give advice to the President of India, and then based on the advice of Union Council of Ministers, President of India will proclaim financial emergency in the country. Okay, so it means that in practical world, okay, so in theory, so I told you that in theory it is written in the constitution that if the President of India is satisfied, but in practical world, in reality, it is the satisfaction of Union Council of Ministers. Okay, so if Union Council of Ministers is satisfied that the financial stability of India or the credit of India is under threat, and then if they gives advice to the President of India to impose financial emergency in India, then President of India will proclaim financial emergency. Then President of India will impose financial emergency. So this is the practical and on ground procedure of the imposition of the financial emergency. Now friends, after this the next important topic is the approval of financial emergency. So now let's see that how the financial emergency is approved by the parliament. Okay, so let's suppose what happened, that Union Council of Ministers gave advice to the President of India, and what President of India did, President of India imposed financial emergency in the country. Okay, so now the question is that what will happen next? Okay, so what is the next step? So now friends, once the financial emergency is imposed by the President of India on the country, then there is a need that this financial emergency must be approved by both the houses of parliament, means by Lok Sabha as well as by Rajya Sabha, within 2 months of its imposition. Okay, so what I am saying? So I am saying that if President of India has imposed financial emergency on the country, then there is a need that within 2 months of its imposition from the date of, okay, so let's suppose if President of India has imposed financial emergency on the country, then within 2 months of the imposition of financial emergency, there is a need that it must be approved by Lok Sabha and it must be approved by Rajya Sabha. So when the financial emergency is imposed by the President of India, then it must be approved by both the houses of parliament within 2 months of its imposition. But friends, then the question arises that what majority is needed in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha for the passage or for the approval of financial emergency. So now we know that it must be approved within 2 months. It must be approved within 2 months by both the houses of parliament. And if it is not approved by both the houses of parliament within 2 months, then it will be lapsed after 2 months. Means it will be over after 2 months. It will be ended after 2 months. Okay, so if government wants to continue financial emergency beyond the period of 2 months, then it must be approved by both the houses of parliament within 2 months. And if it is not passed by either house, okay, if it is not passed by both the houses, then it will be lapsed after 2 months. Okay, so now what majority is needed for the passage or for the approval of financial emergency in parliament? So friends, the answer is very simple, and the answer is that the simple majority is needed for the approval of financial emergency in Lok Sabha, as well as simple majority is needed for the approval of financial emergency in Rajya Sabha. Okay, means simple majority is needed for the approval of financial emergency in both the houses of parliament. So if Rajya Sabha passes or approves the financial emergency within 2 months by simple majority, and if Rajya Sabha also approves financial emergency by simple majority within a period of 2 months, then financial emergency will be approved by the parliament. Okay, so then we will say that now the financial emergency is approved or passed by the parliament. Now friends, then let's move forward to a new topic. So now our topic is the withdrawal of financial emergency. Means how the financial emergency can be withdrawn. Okay. So let's suppose what happened, that the President of India proclaimed the financial emergency. Okay, means President of India imposed financial emergency in the country. And what happened, that within 2 months of the proclamation, this financial emergency was passed by Lok Sabha as well as by Rajya Sabha by simple majority. Means it was also approved by both the houses of parliament. So now my question is that once the financial emergency is approved by both the houses of parliament, then how it can be withdrawn? Okay, because if it is not passed by either of the house, then it will expire automatically after the expiration of 2 months. But if it is passed by both the houses of parliament, then how it can be withdrawn? What is the procedure of to end the financial emergency? So now let's discuss about it. So friends, once the financial emergency is approved by both the houses of parliament, then there is only one method to withdraw the financial emergency. And that one method is the proclamation of revocation issued by the President of India. Okay. Now what does it mean? So it means that once the financial emergency is approved by both the houses of parliament, then it can only be withdrawn. Then it will only end when the President of India will issue a proclamation of revocation. Okay, so are you getting my point? So I am again repeating it, what I am saying, that once the financial emergency is approved by both the houses of parliament, then it can only be withdrawn by one method, and that method is when President of India issues a proclamation of revocation. And when President of India will issue a proclamation of revocation, then it will be over, then it will be withdrawn, then it will be ended. Okay, but what is this proclamation of revocation? So proclamation of revocation basically means that now the President of India is proclaiming, now the President of India is declaring, now the President of India is saying that we are taking the financial emergency back. Okay, we are taking the financial emergency back, or we are now ending the financial emergency in the country. Okay, so this is the meaning of proclamation of revocation. So when President of India will issue a proclamation of revocation, then only the financial emergency will end in India. So friends, now let us discuss about the consequences of financial emergency. Consequences of financial emergency basically means that what are the effects of financial emergency on the country. Okay, so now let us discuss one by one about all the consequences or effects of the financial emergency on the country. So friends, the first consequence of the financial emergency is that the revenue distribution provisions between union and state governments cease to be in operation. Okay, now what does it mean? So I have explained you many times that India is a federal country, or we can also say that India is a federation. So as India is a federation, so what happens, that there is a clear-cut distribution of powers between center and state governments. Okay, means center government, or we can also call it as union government, and state governments, they are coordinate bodies. Neither union is subordinate to states, and nor states are subordinate to union. They both are coordinate bodies. They are like brothers. Okay. So what happens, that there is a clear-cut distribution of power between union government and state government. That these are the powers of union government and these are the powers of state government. Okay. So as there is a clear-cut distribution of power between center and states, so there is a clear-cut distribution of financial powers. There is a clear-cut distribution of financial powers between union and states. But friends, for example, what are the sources of revenue for union government? What are the sources of revenue for state government? Okay, so in this way, there is a clear-cut distribution of financial powers between union and states. But when the financial emergency is imposed in the country, then what happens, that these revenue distribution provisions, okay, these revenue distribution provisions means, for example, that how the money will be distributed between union and states. Okay. For example, friends, if we are discussing about the distribution of financial powers between union and states, then there is one thing that first of all the union government has more number of sources for money, more number of sources for revenue, and state governments have less number of sources for revenue. And moreover, the source of revenue or the source of money of union government are very important and powerful, means they generate a lot of money for union government. But on the other hand, the sources of revenue for the state governments are not that powerful, means they generate less money for the state government. So what happens, that there are revenue distribution provisions, okay, between union and state government. So what happens, that union government gives a huge amount of money to state government in the form of grants. Okay, so this I have told you earlier also. So what happens, that as union government earns more money, as union government has more money, so union government gives a huge amount of money to all the state governments in the form of grants. Okay, so so these grants can also be one of the examples of the revenue distribution provisions. So revenue distribution provisions basically means that how the revenue, how the money will be distributed between union government and state governments. Okay, so I have given you one example of grants. Okay, so but when the financial emergency is imposed in the country, then what happens, that these revenue distribution provisions are cease to be in operation. Okay, these revenue distribution provisions are cease to be in operation. Cease to be in operation means they stop to be in operation till the time financial emergency is there in the country. Means these revenue distribution provisions will not work. They will not work till the time financial emergency is imposed in the country. So this is the first consequence of financial emergency. Now friends, after this the second consequence is that the union government can give direction to the state executive as how to manage their finances and thus maintain financial prosperity. Now what does it mean? So just now I have told you that India is a federal country, means India is a federation. So federal country means that the union government and state governments, they are like brothers, means neither state government is subordinate to union nor union government is subordinate to states. They are coordinate bodies. So it means that neither union government can give order to states nor state government can give order to union. Okay, so this is the meaning of federation. But when the financial emergency is imposed in the country, then what happens, that this union government, okay, union government gets the power that now union government can give order. Now union government can give direction, okay, to the state government that how to manage their finances. Okay, now what does it mean? It means that now union government will have power to give order. Now union government will have power to give direction to the state governments, and in its order or in its direction, union government can tell the state government that how to manage your finance. How to manage your finance means union government will tell that how to spend money, how to do expenditures, how to save money. Okay, so as there is financial crisis in the country, as the financial stability of India is under threat or the credit of India is under threat, okay, so now there is a need to save money. Now there is a need to spend less and save more. So now union government can give direction to the state government that in this way you have to spend money so that you can save more amount of money. And when you will save more money, then what will happen? Then it will result into financial prosperity. And if we will achieve financial prosperity, then it means that now there is no need to impose financial emergency. Okay, so this is the meaning of this is the second consequence. Now friends, after this, let's see what is the third consequence. So the money and finance bill of the states may be made subject to the assent of president as a routine. Now what does it mean? So friends, in the previous classes, I have taught you in detail that how the various bills are passed. Okay, so can you remember that in one of the dedicated class, I taught you about ordinary bill, constitutional amendment bill, money bill, finance bill category A and finance bill category B. Okay, and in that class only I taught you that how these bills are actually passed. Okay, so Okay, and that was the procedure of the passage of bills at union level. Now at the state level also the bills are passed in the similar manner. But the difference, and the only difference is that at the union level the bills need the assent of president to become the act. Okay, so what happens at union level? So at union level, when a bill is passed by the parliament, then there is a need that this bill must be assented. This bill must be signed by the president of India. Then only it becomes the law. Okay, then only it is enacted. But at states level, what happens that when any bill is passed by the state legislature, okay, whenever any bill is passed by the state legislature, then there is a need of the assent of governor of that state. Okay, means that when the governor of that state will give his assent, when the governor of that state will give his signature on the bill, then only that bill will be enacted. So this is the basic difference. So what happens that whenever any bill is passed by the state legislature, so generally there is no need that this bill must get the assent of president. Okay, so generally there is no need. But if governor wants, then governor can send that bill for the assent of the president. Again I am telling you this. So what happens that whenever a bill is passed by the state legislature, then the signature of governor is needed for that bill to become the act. Okay, so it means that there is no need of the signature of president. There is no need of the signature of president for the bill to become an act at the state level. But if governor wants, if the governor of the state wants, then governor can send that bill for the assent of the president. Okay, so this happens generally. Okay, but if the financial emergency is imposed in the country, if financial emergency is imposed in the country, then what happens that all the bills which are passed by the state legislature, all the bills which are passed by the state legislature, they will, okay, and what bills? Financial bills and money bills. Okay, I am not talking about ordinary bill. I am not talking about ordinary bill. I am only talking about finance bill and money bill. So all the money bills and finance bills which are passed by the state legislature, on these bills the signature of the president is mandatory. The signature of the president is must for these bills to become the law. Okay, so are you getting my point? So in general circumstances what happens that the signature of president is not needed for the money bill and finance bill of the states. Okay, only the signature of the governor are sufficient. But during the financial emergency, whenever the state legislature passes any money bill or finance bill, then the signature of the president of India is must. The assent of the president of India is must on these bills to become a law. Okay, so if union government will want, if central government will want, then central government will pass the order that now the money and finance bill of states will only be passed when they will get the assent of the president. Okay, so this is the third consequence of the financial emergency. Now friends, after this, the fourth consequence of the financial emergency is that union executive can direct the state executive to reduce the salary and allowances of all or any state government functionary. Now what does it mean? So it means that, okay, so let's suppose, so what is union executive? So union executive means Union Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. And what is state executive? So state executive means State Council of Ministers headed by Chief Minister. Okay, so now what can happen that now the Union Council of Ministers can give order. Okay, now Union Council of Ministers can give order to the State Council of Ministers. Okay, and in that order it will say to reduce the salary of all the state government functionaries or some of the state government functionaries. Now state government functionaries means, for example, ministers. Okay, for example, ministers are also the state government functionaries. The ministers means the ministers working in the state. These ministers are also the state government functionaries. For example, the officers working in the state. So these officers which are working under state, they are also state government functionaries. Okay, so now the central executive, the union executive can give order to the state executive to reduce the salary, to reduce the allowances of either all the state government functionaries or of any state government functionaries. For example, Union Council of Ministers can give order to the State Council of Ministers to reduce the salary of all the ministers, and when Union Council of Ministers will give this order to the State Council of Ministers, then they have to reduce the salary of all the ministers. Okay, and if they are saying that reduce the salary and allowances of all the state government functionaries, then they have to reduce the salary and allowances of all the officers working under the state. Okay, so definitely friends, there is a financial emergency, so now there is a need to save more money. So this is very obvious that for promoting the savings of more amount of money, central government can pass such orders to the state government so that country can achieve financial prosperity and soon the financial emergency ends. Now friends, after this, the fifth consequence of the financial emergency can be is that the salary and allowances of all or any union government officials, okay, all or any union government officials including president or Supreme Court judges can be reduced. Okay, so now what does it mean? So similar to the previous consequence here, okay, so in the previous consequence I told you about that the salary and allowances of the state government functionaries can be reduced. So similarly here what happens, that the salary and allowances of all the union government functionaries can be reduced. Okay, and here it is clearly written that the salary and allowances of the President of India can also be reduced. The salary and allowances of the Supreme Court judges, okay, the salary and allowances of Supreme Court judges can also be reduced. Okay, similarly the salary and allowances of all the union ministers can be reduced. The salary and allowances of all the officers working under the union government can also be reduced. Okay, so the essence of this point is that here the reduction in the salary can be done. Okay, so here the salary and allowances of any officer working under the union government can be done. Okay, so again this is done to increase the financial prosperity in the country, because we need more savings, because the financial stability of India is under threat, or the credit of India is under threat. So for bringing the financial stability of India, or for again maintaining the credit of India, we need more savings. Now friends, then comes the sixth consequence of financial emergency. So this consequence or this effect is little theoretical in nature, but it is so important and it is so deep that when you will write this in your mains exam, then definitely you will fetch extra marks as compared to other aspirants. Okay, because its meaning is much deeper. So what happens, that financial emergency affects fiscal federalism in India. Now what is this fiscal federalism? So I have explained you that India is a federal country. Okay, and as India is a federal country, so there is a clear cut distribution of power between union government and state government. Okay, neither union government is subordinate to states and nor state governments are subordinate to union, means they both are equally powerful. Okay, so now as there is a distribution of power between center and states, so there is a distribution of financial powers between center and states. Okay, and theoretically what happens, that union and states are financially equal, but when the financial emergency, okay, and this is known as financial federalism. Okay, but when the that they are independent in their financial sources, they are independent in their revenue sources, they are equally powerful. But when the financial emergency is imposed in the country, so what happens, that in the previous all the five consequences you have seen that union government has become very, very powerful. Okay, union government has become very, very powerful in financial emergency, and the state governments have become very, very weak in the case of financial emergency. Union government got the power to give orders and directions related to the finances to the states. Okay, moreover there was a need for the state legislature to get their bill assented by the President of India. Their money bill and finance bill get assented by the President of India. So what happens in financial emergency, that union government becomes very powerful. Okay, the financial powers of union government increases, whereas the financial power of state governments decreases. So it means that the physical federalism get weakens in India. Fiscal federalism becomes weak in India, and India becomes more unitary in case of physical federalism. Okay, so it directly affects the physical federalism in India. So this is the meaning of sixth consequence. So friends, with this, the topic of financial emergency is now completed. Okay, so now we have completed all the three type of emergencies. So first of all, we have completed national emergency, which is given under Article 352 of the Indian Constitution. After that, we have completed state emergency or president's rule, which is given under Article 356 of the Indian Constitution. And finally, in today's lecture, we have completed financial emergencies, which is given under Article 360 of the Indian Constitution. So it means that we have completed the topic of emergency given in the Constitution of India. So with this class, now the topic of emergency is completed. So friends, that's all for today. I hope that you all must have enjoyed the lecture, and if you have enjoyed the lecture, then please like the video, comment, subscribe the channel, press the bell icon and select all. Now friends, we will meet in next class with a fresh topic. Till then, stay indoors, stay healthy, take care of yourself. Thank you.